Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Coping with Life. I am your host, Scotty. Warning, this episode is going to be very heavy and hard and, a lot of emotions. So, just a heads up, this is not a episode for everybody. And today's topic, obviously, you clicked on it. It's about suicide. And I've had many problems and run-ins with these thoughts. And before I get into it, know that there is help out there, and people are really willing to hear you look up those numbers, find your local area hotline, reach out to somebody. They're there to help. I know they've helped me many times in the last year, hell, in the last 6 months. Actually, in all honesty, they've helped me a lot in the last year. This last year has been really hard. And so just before I get in and get my opinions and the like, know that people are out there and they care about you, they love you, you matter, and don't let anybody talk down to you, tell you otherwise, because you matter. And so, further ado, let's get on it. And suicide. Suicide has, the thought and seeing that happen, it can be overwhelming. And when you hear people tell you, go kill yourself, and, you suck, you fat lard ass, stupid things can get to me depending on my mood, and I can break down. Even if it's, just, other words or, the lack of actions. I remember having a mental breakdown, and I tried reaching out to anyone and everyone, and nobody was there for me, and I was having a mental spiral, and I just I called one of the hotlines, and they've always been there, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm somebody that is always there, willing to lend an ear if that's what I know you need. And it's not easy, and for somebody who has mental issues, but I would never harm anybody except me. Violence is not an answer. I hardly ever raise my voice. And, there's been a few times in my life where that's not been the case. But, nothing major. And we learn from our mistakes. Because, violence is not an answer, and I like to diffuse things with my words. I love everybody. I want everybody to be happy. I want to build people up, not tear them down. And even if they want nothing to do with me, at least tell me you don't want me in your life so I can move on. But you know, I have tried taking my life many different times, and I'm a very stable person. I I consider myself very stable. I have a nice foundation. But sometimes the weight gets too heavy. And it's not easy with mental illness and just a bad deck of life and, people looking at you and judging you before they know you. It's not easy. And I try really hard to, keep a smile and be positive, but, treat me like a human being. I'm a person, and you may have a bad day, but love putting smiles on faces, and you know, even if it embarrasses me, because yeah, it's I. If I can make somebody laugh or smile or have a crappy day, whatever they're going through, I'm gonna go through my bag of tricks and make them feel like they matter and they're cared about. Because honestly, I do. I'm a humanitarian. I'm somebody who cares about everybody, and I try really hard to tell the people that I care about after talking to them. It's like, hey, I love you, and I hope life gives you what you want. And this is not an easy subject for me because it really does hit to the core, and I've tried recording this many times, and it's just not easy for me. And but know that people out there, they matter, and there's people that are in my corner that are willing to talk if they need, if I need them, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's not that simple. There's a lot of people. I have a lot of normal friends, and when I bring up the topic of suicide or what I'm working on, and I'm very open, and they're like, well, just don't think about it. That's not what happens when you're mentally ill. When you have a mental illness, or if you're depressed, and people, you think people don't give a damn about you, they don't care about you. That's not that's not true, but that's how people think. And I'm most days I can handle it. So most days I'm good. But depending of my day or what is going on or what my brain thinks is happening, and it had the tailspin, and major events in my life trigger, and it happens. And most days when you feel worthless or even hopeless, if you are at that point where you know, you perceive that there's no hope, you know, you're going to think of the way of, well, you know, life is better without me. I don't contribute anything, and it's it's you know life can be better, and I have this unique talent to be able to express the way that I do, and being so open-minded that I can actually talk about this and help people who are feeling this way. And if you are that person, know that you matter, and have a giant hug around you, because you matter. And if you are a normal person or somebody who thinks people who commit suicide are stupid, no, you are incorrect. There are signs, and I'm not trying to philosophize things, or I'm just telling you my opinion. But there are signs of suicide leading up, and one of the biggest signs is false happiness. Big example is somebody who is super sad, super depressed, and then for a week they're so happy, they're doing everything, they're laughing, they are their old self, and then come about 8 days later they're gone because they've already checked out. They wanted one last good week, hoping to get everything built away, and then they off themselves. And that's, studies have shown that is more frequent. And everyone's like, well, we didn't see this coming, he was getting better. Well, sit down and talk to them, because there's two sides to the story where people who I'm not talking about the attention seekers, I'm not talking about people who will say things to manipulate people. That is horrid in itself. I'm talking about people who genuinely, are suffering. And most people who suffer are going to do it one of two ways, in my opinion. There might be other people who have more information. I don't have that information. I just have the limited sources and what I see in my circle and what I know personally. Most people who suffer, they suffer silently. They don't want to be a bother. They try and fight their battles within. And then you have the other people who are suffering, who, when you're chatting, will casually, in the most improper place of a conversation, bring up, oh yeah, well, it's better than suicide, or ideology, the suicide and bringing it up just casually. It may be nothing, but it is something that I've seen, but for somebody who sees people who are obviously suffering, and in their mannerisms, the way that they're carrying themselves, and just depending of where they are in life, what they post on social media, what they say in person, maybe it's what they're not saying in person. Most people are like, "Oh, you'll get over it. It's all good. You're okay." And then when they take their own life, the same people who deny the treatment or deny helping them properly or taking it seriously are the same people who post on social media and going, "Oh, I would do anything to have them back." It's, well, yeah, I'm sure you would. They're people, they matter. But, sometimes you have to reach out a hand even if you don't know they need a hand. And I try and reach out to people and just, send memes and stuff to make them smile and know that, I still care about them. They're amazing, and, be more honest, forthright, and, life is hard, life is tough, it's not easy, everybody is on a different path, and, there's a lot of things that I want in life that's never going to happen, and I have to come to a realization on that. And there are some days where I do think I would be better off no longer on this plane of existence. But yet I'm still here because I'm a fighter, and I've been dealing with this my entire life. Most people, mainly in their later years when they first start getting depression, they can't really handle it because it's new, foreign, and they can't fight those problems. Because depression can happen between like PTSD or other things. And if it happens later in life, you can't build because you're thinking, of days of old. For me, I grew up this way. Growing up the way that I did, it's with me forever. And it's not easy. And the scars to prove it. But yet I'm here. And I want to, smile, be me, be silly, just say, ridiculous things that people will go, that's funny. Or the comedic timing that I have on both things. And I really like to try and beat my mental illness, beat, uh, you know, and for the longest time, you know, it would, it wasn't, it was a lot easier, um, when I'm motivated, when there's, you know, chasing things, chasing dreams, it can be a lot easier. And again, that's me speaking for myself. And then when you have no direction, the it can eat you alive, and it it's it's hard. And it and sometimes you have to fight ridiculous behaviors that are very abnormal. And those abnormalities you need to see on people and try and figure out why. Like, me selling video games, pawning comic books, Dungeons and Dragons modules. That's an abnormality. Those are things that I really enjoy, and yet I'm parting ways with it. Those are things of what's going on. And sometimes you get to a deep dark place, and it's really hard to climb out. And we're all fighting our own battles, and some have it a lot easier than most, and some can't handle it at all. And my heart goes out to each and every one of their souls, because it's horrible. And I'm just letting this known. I'm just talking about people who are suffering. I'm not talking about people who commit homicide and take their own lives. I think that's the cowardly way. But I'm not gonna get into that here. But I'm just talking about people who are genuinely suffering, that their lives are dimming, and some people will never know. And people's lives matter. If you're a human being, well, even if you're a doggo, you matter. Life is precious. We need to love more, hate less. And that's, it's hard when it takes every ounce of power to wake up every day and try and live your best life. Because some days are great, but some days can be a really horrible day, You may not know why. And there's a few things that I've done to better my life. And that is cutting the negativity and trying changing my life without changing people. Because you can never change people. But I can change the way that I perceive things and try and adapt and make things better. And one of the biggest things for me, and I don't got many things to look forward to. I don't have a lot of positivity currently in my life. But that's okay. I'm doing my best, trying to make everybody else happy. And it is, one of the greatest things in the world is just being able to tell somebody, hi, I hope you're having a great day. If not, well, I'm wishing you the best. It's a small thing in life. It really is. And, be there for somebody. I don't wish this on the worst enemy, period. Because it is an awful experience, and, it's not attention seeking. And it really bothers me that people who manipulate and use, acts of self-harm or suicide as a deterrent for, delaying the inevitable. Those are horrible people. And I'm going to be honest, at one point, I did use this as a attention seeking. I just amplified, but then I realized that's not the right way. Because at that point, it wasn't meant to be malicious, but I just got to the point where I didn't care. But I'm a lot older, a lot more wiser, and now I can help a lot more people. And I'm not saying don't tell people, but do it in a way that is less malicious and more seeking help. Because in the way that I would say it, people would say that was, malicious or, attention seeking, when that wasn't really my point. But, you learn that you're trying to reach for help. And, all these suicide hotlines and the people out there, they matter. And if you know anybody who reaches out for your own good, or are somebody who is one of those people, thank you. You matter. And, no matter where you live or what you do, know that, people out there matter and care about you. And that, one of the things that I've seen is the ignorant people who abuse, mistreat, and have one-sided conversations, and they basically torment a soul are the same people when they kill themselves or cut out the toxic people like the abusers and the people who may not know that they are being vile people. They go, either they become more manipulative and malicious, or they basically do anything to discredit this person that they've been tormenting, and that person ends up taking their own life. And that's not right. It's hard. And people who think, people who suffer, it can get to the point where you lose a job, your relationship ends, figuring out how you're paying your bills. Stress adds up. Stress is a leading factor of suicide to non-mentally ill people. I don't know how valid this is, but I will say, because it is something that I've heard, and a lot of normal suicides come from people who win the lotto. You have to pay taxes on it, and usually the multi-million-dollar lottery winners wind up dead within a few years after they blow through everything on nothing that's really worth anything. And that touches my soul, because I don't like anybody suffering, and that is just something about me and my personality. I have a huge heart, and I don't like people hurting, and I don't like people killing themselves, taking their own life. I hate hearing about it because it tears me apart. And I like to protect people and do my best, and if I can't do it, I'll try and steer them somewhere where they can get the proper assistance. The proper assistance. And like people who get scammed, no matter what it may be, if they lose their livelihood, house, the bank account, get their stuff repoed, that builds and builds, and that usually has a nasty end. And that That is a huge uh, bitter, bitter pill to swallow. And knowing that, I alone can't save the world. But, I'm going to do my little part and make people smile. And, um, you know, it's life is not easy. And again, if you're hurting, reach out to somebody. If you're in a dark place, and no matter who or what you are, you matter. You know, hopefully you'll be okay, and hopefully life gets better for you. And if you would like to support my podcast, please go to anchor.fm/coping with life. That's the splash page where you can find my social media. And tell your friends and family. And I hope your friends and family are also okay. And I wish everybody the best. And know that I love each and every one of you. And, stay strong. Live your best life. And even if your life isn't the way that you thought it may turn out, know that people out there care about you, even if they have no clue who you are. And try and not judge somebody before you get to know them. Because it's hard. And you may not understand everything that they're going through on a daily basis. And, I'm not saying that you can't judge people. I'm just saying, sometimes a little goes a long ways. And that has been the episode on suicide. And I will probably touch this many times. So, and add or change things. But I really, really want to do this episode, and I had to try and get over things and make it, and I have chosen the word that I think is the best. And when you're out in the lava in a wooden boat without a paddle, that's what suicide is. You don't know when, but the inevitable is coming. And sometimes when you don't have a support system, your boat is going to go a lot quicker. And the people who survive until they get better, those boats are amazing. And I like people who can continue fighting and beat the struggles. And for me personally, where I'm at in life, I'm not there yet. I'm still stranded in the lava, but I'm not panicking. I'm still doing my best, and that's all that I can ask for. And I'm very grateful. There's a lot of things in my life that I'm very grateful for. And, my goal is to get out more, go out to dinner more, try and live, a quote unquote normal life. I don't know how that will work out for me. Probably not, and revert back to hiding from the world. Maybe it will turn out good. I don't know. But I know there's a lot of people who care about me. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that may want to share the stories. Absolutely be my guest. Because, we're all in this together. We're all humans. We should all treat people with respect, which is a lost art. One of the things that I pride myself in doing is talking to somebody with no motive or reason. Because usually when somebody reaches out to me, they want something from me. When I reach out to them, I want nothing. So that's life. And thank you so much for listening. This has not been the easiest topic for me to speak out publicly. And hopefully I did a nice job introduction, and hopefully as time goes on I can build upon and feel a lot better, because a lot of the other episodes that didn't, I've hard, but those versions still have a lot of things that I didn't even touch on this. But, thank you so much. So, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Share it with friends and family, and if they're struggling, know that their fight matters. Fight the good fight, and know that people care about you, and your life matters. It really, really does. And know that, people care, and even if your world is falling apart, know that, people are there. So thank you so much for listening to another episode of Coping with Life. I am your host, Scott. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And again, if you would like to support me and my podcast, please go to anchor.fm/Coping with Life. We're on Amazon Music. We're also on Google, Apple Music, Apple Podcast. Type in Scott Connor, Connor, and it should have the logo, the purple on purple logo. And when I can direct link that, I'll post that on other platforms on my social media, so people can find it on Apple Music and Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. I apologize. This episode has took a lot out of me. But thank you so much for listening. Love you very much. I bid you good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is to you. I wish you all wealth, happiness, love you all. I bid you adieu.